And hi, everyone, and we're back with another podcast. My name is John, and we are part of the Strong, Happy, Healthy, Loved channel. A podcast talking to people around mental health awareness, positive self-talk, and opportunities to create a support, a loving community. And my very special guest today is Irina Amelina, and she is the founder and director of her equine facility called Equusterra, and that's around supporting people with neurodiversity, physical disabilities, and mental health. Irina, welcome to the channel.
Thank you for having me, John. Thank you. Pleasure.
Amazing. So, as we do, right to the very beginning, taking you back to little Irina back in St. Petersburg, Russia, I believe. Definitely a different culture, a different ideology. So, yeah, please step me through those early formative years and how they set you up for today.
I was very fortunate to be born in St. Petersburg, Russia. At that time, it was the Soviet Union. And was growing up all happy, didn't know any other political system but the Soviet system, the system where the education is free, the medical support is free, hospitals are free. Elderlies are getting 80% of their salary as the pension. Quite stable work for a lot of people, living in the apartments, yes, owned by the state, but paying just for utilities. And a lot of the different other services were free and available for all. There were some limitations, of course, on food. We didn't have such a variety. We didn't have such a pleasure of choosing so many different things in the supermarkets. We didn't even have supermarkets. We didn't have choice cuts of meat unless you know the butcher. But all of this was a little bit irrelevant to me because as a little girl, I was just focused on being myself, growing up in my family, going to school, being a good student. Because again, if I'm a good student, I can get into the university, which was encouraged. And I just had the love of horses from the age of 3. As soon as I saw them on the TV, I was hooked. Every opportunity I had, I would beeline to a live horse, pet the horse, and then not wash my hands for a while so then I can keep smelling this beautiful smell of horses. And I entered the Teachers Training University, obtained my bachelor in education, which was luckily proven to be adequate for Australia later on in life, which was great. And I was pretty much not even having my life connected with horses when I was in St. Petersburg, just living my life as a interpreter, as a teacher of English until 2023. At that time, Soviet Union dissolved. I started living in Russian Federation. St. Petersburg changed to St. Petersburg from Leningrad. So there were a lot of changes in the political system. Perestroika, as they say, it started in officially in 1985. Again, we were very enthusiastic. We became pal pals with some foreigners, including the American girlfriend of mine, Amy, who eventually played a kind of pivotal role in my decision of changing my life.
I mean, certainly looking at that culture, I mean, we realized growing up in one country and the television and the branding. And of course, in Russia, you didn't have Disney, you didn't have Coca-Cola and jeans and the rock and roll ideology. So, yeah, obviously, at 20, I believed, around that age, was lots of challenges. I believe your mother passed away and then you were heading to the States. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I was gearing up to go to the States and work as a nanny. And all of a sudden, in July 2000, sorry, 1993, when I was 23 years of age, my mom had a stroke that was inoperable, and she passed away within the 15 days. For me, it was quite a big sign, I guess, of changes needing to happen in my life. And then my decision to go to America was supported by the visa to be able to do that. And despite of my objections and wanting to stay with my dad and with my brother to look after them, my dad insisted on me following up my mom's encouragement and moved to America just to work as a nanny to start with. And that was my, my trip to America. That's how I settled first in San Francisco. And later on, I met an American gentleman and moved over to San Diego and started working in his company on the car rentals, and decided to start looking into connecting with horses.
That got you on that path to with equine, and then I believe coming back from America to Russia. I mean, it was quite again that cultural kind of shock, wasn't it? I believe your dad was quite adamant that you needed to just dial it back a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So it was quite interesting, as you said, to actually change from that Soviet system then to this. I don't know, it was some sort of like a big transition to the, I guess, democratic society, but it was such a disarray in Russia at that time. And then I ended up in America, and I had to learn the logistics. I had to learn the ins and outs of everyday life, like literally from making the right choice in the supermarket, because we haven't had that such a variety of food, where to buy clothes, how to organize my life, like in so many aspects, we don't even think about it. And when I arrived in America, I was pretty much with just a suitcase and I think about $300, and that was it. And so I started my life, a different language, different country, different political system. Everything was very different. So I didn't go back to Russia for about 2.5 years. And then when I went, at that moment, I've already started picking up a lot of the positive things of American life, including eye contact and big smile in the two teeth. So that became a habit of mine. So when I got to Russia for the first time, and it was in 1995 or 1996, this habit automatically just was showing itself up every time I would connect with somebody, through the eyes. And we were standing on the lights, and I turned around and looked at the car next to me, and I just smiled automatically, not even thinking further into it, where I realized there were some sort of like a mafia guys in the car next to me. And my dad said, one more time you smile, these guys will come over and start bashing you or taking you for, like mistaking you for a different sort of a person. So it was just kind of funny, in a way, but not funny, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I had to, it's this continuous adjustment from one system to another system. And when I was in St. Petersburg, and still sometimes to these days, I have to be a little bit more gloomy as a person, not to smile as much, not to try to make a contact, not to have such an open face, where you can read all of my emotions. So it's still a little bit of remnants of that is lingering. Yeah.
And it certainly brings up all of those ideologies around people that grow up in a family or grow up in a certain culture, and all of a sudden to break out of those patterns or those paradigms, it's certainly that challenge. And then from there, you migrated out to Australia, and you still weren't working with horses directly. You were in a law firm, I believe, and there were some challenges around getting called the KGB and that type of thing.
Yeah, I moved to to Australia, sorry, from America in January 2000. So it's pretty much been 25 years since I've moved to Australia. And my diploma, as I mentioned before, was recognized, which allowed me immigration as a teacher, which was fantastic. But I kind of like, while I was looking for the place to be more professional, I also found a stable where I could use, where I can just use their knowledge of horses and learn myself, and I became a stable hand, and that led to a purchase of my beautiful boy, who unfortunately passed away 2 years ago. But I bought him when he was 7.5, and he passed when he was almost 31, just for my own pleasure. Then I went into working as admin assistant. I worked for about 3 years prior to that as an after school care teacher at Churchy, at big school, boys private school over here in Brisbane, and then moved to the admin roles, including Ernst & Young, including Rio Tinto, including um, Jones Lang LaSalle, which was my last, or JLL, that was my last place of employment, where, yes, you were right. Because I was an executive assistant to the manager, we jokingly called me KGB. So it was lots of fun, but yeah, I guess then it just turned out to be a little bit not fun when the higher management took it the wrong way. And then I eventually, very quickly, I had to stop my employment with this company. And that catapulted me in starting Equusterra pretty much. When I realized that there is so much more to what I can offer. At that moment, from 2020, 2001 up to that was 2015, I was already giving private lessons. So people were asking me to teach them how to ride horses. So I already had a small following of students on my horse. And then when the opportunity presented itself, I collaborated with a psychologist who told me at that time that there is a program available to support people with autism and get the funding for them to be involved in the therapy programs. And that's what we started together, but very quickly separated, went on our different ways. And I continued with Equusterra ever since. It will be almost 10 years in June. It will be 10 years since we started.
Yeah, I mean, look, we could spend a whole program talking about the beauty of horses and the benefits and all those areas. But especially for yourself, you really like to focus on people with neurodiversity and those people who are struggling mentally and physically. Why do you feel that that's a calling that you've really wanted to support?
I think it's something that I can't really quite explain. It's the joy of sharing the space with horses and learning so much from them that I can see gives people such a big growth in their potential that it's only provides the background to keep expanding on this program, to keep finding ways not to only help people with neurodiversity, but people who are recovering from their addictions, for example, people who are struggling with mental health, people who are sometimes kind of cut-offs of their society, being a youth detention center, where I work as well every Monday. And we take two horses there, and we work with this youth to show them that there is so much more in life than their negative experience at present. We're part of their education program. I believe that horses are so connected with themselves on all the different levels, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, that we have so much to learn from them. And when I see the impact that horses have on humans, where it will be a 6-year-old nonverbal girl who comes in and starts talking within the first 3-4 months, and for the first time tells her parents, I love you. And this is what makes us cry, like literally cry from joy. And then this girl becomes a chatterbox where we don't even know where the turn off button is. And she's beautiful and she's comprehending and she is much more mentally and emotionally than the traditional establishment has labeled her to be. I also see people who come in the wheelchair and then through riding horses and having this sheer determination to succeed, they become very able to stand up from the wheelchair and start walking. And you could not even tell that they have been in the wheelchair. And there's so many positive stories. It's endless. And the more I see this positive impact, the more I want to support the community, not only the neurodiversity, but I think mental health is very, very important as well.
I mean, it's amazing from a 3-year-old small child in Russia dreaming of horses to having a stable full of horses and sharing that knowledge and obviously your commitment and just inspiring attitude towards wanting to share that. And I know now that you've just been your charity, Mosaica, has just been greenlit, and you're looking to create a community center. Please share a little bit more about the future and what you'd like to be bringing in.
Yeah, right from the beginning of Equusterra, we have identified that this youth who graduate from school, they kind of like fall off the radar with their neurodiversity. There is not that much that they can stimulate them mentally. There are a lot of the different organizations that support more of a complex disabilities or young children. So this youth or this young adults or adults in general with neurodiversity are becoming a little bit of a, fall-offs of the society. So I've decided to create a charity that will be an umbrella organization to bring various providers under one roof. The providers who can offer vocational, recreational, educational activities to high functioning or higher end of the autism spectrum type of individuals, mostly youth and adults, and also invite the general public. So then we can create the culture of inclusion, a culture of coherence, a culture of interactions, meaningful connections, create friendships, create education and employment opportunities, enjoy the like-minded people, which I think is very important. And then the more we do it, the more we understand that despite of being labeled with different diagnoses, we're all the same. We're all humans. We're all beautiful souls and beautiful little butterflies and sunshines. And that's why we call the organization Mosaica. Mosaica means mosaics in Russian. So each one of us creates a tiny little piece of the puzzle and brings it in to weave into this gorgeous picture of the brilliant future and present as well for us.
That sounds incredible. So I mean, looking at your shining light, I mean, even you mentioned that even at school you were kind of looked at as a bit of a leader, and people kind of took your words as verbatim. So I mean, have you always had this very strong and inner well-being for yourself, or you felt like there's times you've really had to step out of your comfort zone? And I mean, obviously traveling countries, learning languages, support, dealing with parents with children with neurodiversity. It's certainly not easy to continue to maintain this very high level of positivity. So, what do you do for yourself to kind of support yourself?
I always thought that I had an inner core in myself. I've never been very much of a confining type of a person. Not that I was a big time rebel, but I was always for justice. The strong sense of justice was always in me. And so as kids, we were not afraid of being in front of the principal, being scolded for something, which actually turned out to be right, but just standing up to authority, that was kind of daunting of its own. When, when I was more of an adult, even though I lost my mom, I kind of like felt this inner connection to my roots. So I think my ancestry line is very strong, and I feel that I am in general, I have a lot of resilience, and that would help me heaps when I moved to a different country, and then again from America, moved to Australia, and again establish myself. So all of this requires resilience. What do I do? How do I maintain my sanity? How do I maintain myself in the positive state of mind? Is through horses, number one, because they are my source of inspiration, my source of joy, my partners, my fur babies. They give so much, and we need to give them so much. But it's also keep finding that joy in life. We need to find the joy in life around us, because that will replenish all the energy that we use for the everyday battles. And if you like dancing, dance. If you like jumping around on the trampoline, jump. If you want to go for a run or just go and, I don't know, do rock climbing or bowling, anything you like doing, don't limit yourself. Allow yourself to be childlike. Allow yourself to have fun, because through the positive enjoyment, I guess, we can then raise our vibrations, stay positive, and the more we put onto that scale of the positivity, the more full this vessel will be.
I mean, interesting that a lot of people desire to have a better life and create a nicer future for themselves. I mean, where do you see you work within the detention centers? You work with a lot of challenged people and through the drug and alcohol rehabilitation. What do you think stops people or limits people really living their best selves?
I think it's also the society, quite a big impact on us, because the society wants to condition us to be a certain way. And when we rebel, the society tries to bash us on the head and push us back into the framework that, they think is right for us. But as long as you maintain the overall human values and morals, you're not breaking anybody's laws. And I feel that the more we tap into that, into the field of consciousness, the more we connect with friends, the more we stay true to ourselves. We need to be very authentic. We need to be honest and open and absolutely down to the core to be true to ourselves. Horses don't lie. Horses don't judge. Horses, for example, look at us. That's how you are. Are you kind? Are you caring? Are you not threatening? And then they trust you with their life. I'm not saying we have to be exactly like that, because quite often in our experience, the trust is one of the first things that is being broken. But I believe that the more we learn to stand up from the negative experiences and turn them into the lessons for ourselves, and then move forward, and then stay, yes, it's okay, what lesson can be learned, what can we take from that to keep growing ourselves and stay positive, and it's not taking the responsibility for others, just we need to take responsibility for ourselves and allow yourself to be the best version of yourself.
Beautiful words of wisdom, Irina. Yeah, look, it's interesting to see that nature does hold a lot of the keys, and by working and being around, horses. I know people have birds or they have dogs or cats, and this very non-judgmental aspect that the nature tends to hold for us. So look, if people do wish to get in touch with you or want to contribute and find out more about the charity, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
At this stage, we're still building the website. We're still creating our Facebook page. So the best way will be to reach out to me on our Equusterra site, for example, through that, or through our Facebook page, which is Equusterra, all one word. That means land of horses. Then I can share the details, provide the information on charity, and would love to have people get involved and embrace. And if anybody is a little bit stuck in life and tries to find the best direction for themselves, why not start volunteering somewhere, including our charity, and then they might find their own calling.
That whole saying is that ask and you shall receive. So it's part of that seeking aspect. So look, any final words or any ideals that you'd wish to impart upon the listeners for today?
I think I've already said that, but I would like to reiterate being authentic, being true to yourself. I think it's the most important thing. I think we need to, in every action and every move that we make, in every connection that we want to engage in, if we're open, people sense it, animals sense it. And then from that, you can then decide if you want to continue being more open, or you can withdraw some information. But if we don't go open-heartedly into different interactions that we have, I don't think it's going to help us to be much stronger. mentally, emotionally, and of course it will be physically as well. When we keep an open posture, an open appearance, people are drawn to us. And then from the connections, everything blossoms.
It's certainly evident in the world that you work in and the people that you support. You're certainly a wonderful ideal of inspiration and wisdom, especially for women and young women, but also for humankind as well. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to talking more in the future. And would like to thank everyone for listening to the Strong, Happy, Healthy, Love podcast. We will see you on the next one. Thanks, Irina.
Thank you.